Hello, my name is Alida Esmail and I am a Pilates instructor in the Department of Recreation and Athletics at Concordia University. Today I'm going to be offering you another 60-minute Mat Pilates class. As I've mentioned in some of my previous videos, I do give a class that's for all levels. I will propose some modifications as need be or different progressions that you can try out if you feel like challenging yourself today. The most important thing is to listen to your body, breathe throughout, and pause at any moment. Nothing should feel painful, and we want to give you a good experience for what your body needs today. If you have a block, you can bring it by your side, or if you have a thick book, you can use that as a replacement for the block. So let's get started. We're going to start lying on our back. I like to start that way. Feet flat on the floor and knees up towards the ceiling. So we're in our neutral Pilates position. We have our pelvis in neutral, meaning a natural curve in the lower back. We'll just relax our arms alongside the body. And let's take a couple breaths here. Just taking this moment to arrive on your mat, to forget anything that's happened before this moment or anything that is planned or not planned to happen after. Just tuning into where the breath is moving in your body. Again, tuning into what the length of your breath is without needing to change anything. To just allow yourself to be where you are today. Seeing if with every inhale, you can track that breath through the entire body. And every exhale, see if you can release a little bit more tension. Maybe you're holding something in your neck or your shoulders. Maybe a little extra tension that you're holding in your hips or your legs that you weren't aware of. Giving a little wiggle to the toes and the fingertips, waking them up. Today we're going to start with our upper body down on the mat, bringing the right leg up to a single hip fold. So knee comes right over the hip, creating a 90-degree angle in the hip and the back of the knee. Bringing that back down, switch to the left leg. So here, as we continue switching from leg to leg, bringing our attention to our center. So maybe even if you want to bring your fingertips on top of your belly button, feeling that little engagement of the belly in towards the spine. As if maybe you're zipping up into a pair of jeans that are a tiny bit too tight for you, but still allowing you to breathe comfortably. We can go and switch the legs at the same time now. So as one lifts, the other lowers, and switch. Pointing the toes, reaching lots of energy out through those toes. Relax the shoulders, neck, and head. So here we want to keep our pelvis in neutral, natural curve in the lower back. And just the thigh bone moving in the hip socket. So really trying to isolate that movement to the legs and letting the rest of the body stay quiet. Long back of the neck. Still taking a big inhale, expanding the back of the rib cage. Exhale, belly towards the spine. Keep that moving in your legs. Now we're going to add the upper body. Fingertips behind the head. Slide the shoulder blades down. And nod the chin towards the chest just a little bit to elongate the back of the neck. We're still in neutral pelvis, still moving those legs, push it through. Inhale, reach up into an ab curl, maybe slowing down the legs to coordinate the movement, and lower back down. Again, lift and lower, belly in, lift and lower. If ever you feel like your toes are cramping up a little, maybe they're not quite as warm yet, you can always switch between flexed feet and pointed toes. Continuing to move through this coordination. Exhale, inhale. If you are finding that you are kind of stuck at any moment, you could always take a pause, realign, and go right back into it. I'm going to hold up for this leg switch so that I can coordinate with the other leg as the head lifts. You can play a little bit there with some coordination. If that's too much, don't even worry about it. Just keep going. Almost there. Keep that belly in. Elbows are nice and wide. For 4, 3, feel some of that heat starting to produce in the body. 2, last one. And release it down. Nice, good. Warm up, knees in towards the chest. Guide those thighs towards the chest. Release the shoulders towards the mat. Keep that tailbone nice and heavy, as if you want to point it down towards the mat. That might mean that the knees lift a little away from the thighs. That's all right. We just use the strength in the arms to guide the knees back down. So really rooting the entire spine towards the mat. Let's keep our right knee in toward the chest. Lengthen the left leg on the mat, flexing the foot. We really want to feel like that left leg is in internal rotation. So spiral that thigh bone so that the kneecap is pointing up to the ceiling. Again, continuing to take these nice long breaths on the exhale, releasing any tension. Maybe you feel a little tense in the hip or the shoulders. Work through that, breathe through it. Keeping that right leg guided in towards the chest or even towards the right armpit. You're going to come back up into an ab curl, so peeling the upper body away from the mat, and lift that left leg just to a hover. Point the toes and flex. Point and flex. Point and flex. So here we still have our belly in towards the spine, shoulder blades sliding down the back, wide across the chest. Flex and point, flex and point. This time keeping pointed toes. We lift the leg up towards the ceiling, keep the tailbone heavy, we're in neutral pelvis, and back down to a hover. Again, lift and lower, warming up those hip flexor, that hip flexor and the thigh. Lots of energy reaching out through the toes, so the kneecap is extended. Nice long leg. 2 more times. And up. And release it down, lower the upper body, and let's switch over to the other leg. Just take a little release for that right hip. Guiding the left thigh in towards the chest or towards the left armpit. Open the chest, release the ribs down. From here, peeling back up into the ab curl, chin towards the chest, belly in. Lift that right leg to a hover. We're in parallel with the leg. Point the toes and flex. Point and flex. Point and flex. If ever this is too much tension in the upper body, you can always keep the upper body down onto the mat. Seeing if you can really release that left hip and lengthen out of the right leg. Keeping pointed toes this time, reach it up to the ceiling, neutral pelvis, bring it back down to a hover. Again, lift and lower. So if you find your knee bending as you lift, you've gone a little bit too high. So you want to stop at the point that you can still have a nice long leg and the tailbone is heavy, sacrum is heavy, natural curve in the lower back. Again, warming up that hip joint for 2 and 1. Good, release it down. This time bring both knees in towards the chest, give yourself a little hug, and maybe you're rocking from side to side. We come up into a double hip fold this time, so knees are about hip width apart, 90-degree angle in the hips and the back of the knees. Lower legs, that means, are parallel to the mat. Fingertips up behind the head, giving a little support. Chin towards the chest, shoulder blades slide down, ab curl, and back down. Legs stay in that double hip fold, just the upper body moving to start. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Really as if we're reaching out of the crown of our head, going up and over a big beach ball, and back down. Again, up and down. Natural curve in the lower back, no tilting. Exhale. Inhale. Out. In. Keep that going. We're going to add a little rotation in the upper body. So the next time you come up, let's rotate the left shoulder towards the right knee and back down through center. Other side. And down. So here we really want to keep the elbows nice and wide. The legs are not moving. They're staying in that double hip fold. We want to activate some of those oblique muscles, finding that cross chain across the front of the body. It's really as if the shoulder wants to go kiss your opposite knee and then come back down. Again, kiss and back down. Hopefully you're feeling that strength in the core, firing up, warming up. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release it down. This time lengthen both legs, reach the fingertips over the head. Take a nice big stretch. And we come right back up, double hip fold in the knees and fingertips behind the head. So we're back to that same position. Slide the shoulder blades down and peel up and over. This time we stay up in the upper body. Got hair drooping down. And from here, just the legs are going to shift now. So lengthening one leg to about a 45-degree angle. Bring it back in. Other leg lengthens and back. So we're about a mid-height here. Again, if the toes are, if the feet are feeling a little crampy today, you can always switch to flex feet, really pressing out through the base of the foot and bringing it back. Press and back. Lengthen and back. Staying high in that ab curl, keep that belly engaged towards the spine. And we're going to start switching the legs at the same time. As one lengthens, the other comes back in. And switch, 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 switch. Good. Continue breathing. And we're going to add a rotation with the upper body. So turning it into that crisscross motion. Opposite shoulder to opposite knee. So left shoulder to right knee as the right knee comes in. and switch, switch, switch. Feel that core working, almost there, for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release it down. Oh, good. Bring the knees in towards the chest. A nice big loving squeeze. And maybe rocking from side to side. I hope you're feeling nice and warm like I am. We're going to come back with our legs to the double hip fold, and this time squeezing the legs together. Flex the feet, so we'll go right away to that flexed foot. Come back with the fingertips behind the head just to start. We're working our way into our 100. So peeling the upper body up away from the mat into that ab curl. If ever this is too much, you can always bring the feet down. I'm going for about a mid-level here, so with the bent knees. If you're feeling good today, you can always lengthen the legs completely. We stay in that position, neutral pelvis, belly in, arms lengthen alongside the body, so they're about a hover away from the mat. We're going to inhale for 5, exhale for 5, and we do that for 10 rounds. So here we go. Set it up. Find that engagement. Chin slightly towards the chest. And here we go. Pulse for in. 2, 3, 4, 5, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5. In. 2, 3, 4, 5, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5. In. 2, 3, 4, 5, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5. In. 2, 3, 4, 5, out. 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, out. 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5. 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, out. 2, 3, 4, 5. 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5. 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, out. 2, 3, 4, 5. 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5. Release it down. Whew. That's a good one to get you going. Full body in action. Maybe roll out your ankles. Good. We're going to progress it down a few notches to come back into our breath. Let's bring our feet back down onto the mat, knees bent, arms alongside the body. Finding a few tilts forwards and backwards in the pelvis. Just giving a little massage for the sacrum. Releasing any tension in the lower back. The next time you tilt your hips forward towards your face or your pubic bone up towards the ceiling, you're going to press into the base of the feet and across the shoulders. We're coming into a neutral bridge, rolling the hips up towards the ceiling, finding a nice long diagonal between the knees, hips, and shoulders. So we want to avoid that kind of yoga bridge where we're going up to a rainbow position, or wheel in yoga if you're familiar. But here we're really keeping a diagonal. We want to find a nice long lower back. This is our Pilates neutral bridge. If you have that block or book, you can place it between your knees, making sure that you're keeping them in line with the hips. Really activating those inner thighs. You should feel some work on the insides of those thighs. That work is connected to your deep ab muscle structure through your pelvic floor. So a nice muscle chain connection there. And one vertebra at a time, roll the spine back down. The hips are the last thing to come to the mat. Again, take a few tilts once you get down onto the mat. Releasing out, finding that rocking motion. And when you're ready, on your next rock forward, You continue the roll, anchor down, and bring the hips up. In this position, we're really looking to lengthen the front of the body and activate the back side of the body. So glutes are strong, hamstrings engaged. Press into the feet and across the back of the shoulders. And again, roll it back down, one vertebra at a time. Hips heavy, and take a few tilts forwards and back. We're going to roll it up again, and this time we're going to stay up in that bridge. So roll it back up, find that length in the spine, wide across the chest, press into the feet. Opening out the front of the hips, lengthening those hip flexors, squeeze the block. Staying here with the hips, we inhale the arms up towards the ceiling and then up above the head. Exhale, bring the arms back and down. Again, inhale, up and over, kind of opening up those shoulder joints. Exhale, bring it back. We're super stable in the rest of the body. Keep those knees in line with the hips. Both hips are at the same height. So watch out that you're not twisting or dropping one side or the other. That's a totally different exercise. Connect the breath. Inhale, up and over. Feel that tushy working. Exhale, back. This time with the arms, we're going to cross the right arm over the left in front of the belly. Slide the fingertips up the body as if you're taking off a sweater. Lengthen the arms, and if you have room to open the arms around the side and back down. If not, you come back through center. Inhale, bring the left arm over the right. Slide the fingertips up above the head. Exhale, bring it back to the mat. One more time each side. Bring those hips a little higher. Right arm over left. Slide the fingertips up and over. Exhale, bring it back. Long lower back. Last one. Push it through. Inhale. Find that strength a little deeper. Exhale. Now we can roll one vertebra at a time. Keep the hips tilted. It's the last thing to come back down. And then we tilt back to neutral. Release the block. And windshield wiper the hips from side to side. Come back to your breath. And release. We're going to hold on to the backs of the thighs. So coming up to kind of a double hip fold. Release the feet. Hold on to the backs of the thighs. Peel up into an ab curl. And then find a little momentum to roll the body upwards and back. So we're coming into a rolling like a ball. Here, the goal is to keep a long C curve in the spine. So we're tilting in the pelvis and we're coming around and up and over out through the top of the head. We want to keep that space the same between the thighs and the chest the whole time. And just a little tap of the fingertips behind the thighs. We really tilt in that pelvis. We roll it back just to the shoulder blades and come back up. See if you can balance. Again, roll it back and up. So we're really touching every part of the spine. Back up. Oof. Again, up and back. 2 more times. Feel that low ab engagement. Last one. We're going to stay up in that balance. So find a little curve in the spine. We're about in between the lower back and the sit bones. So we're finding that little kind of cushy spot. Let's squeeze the legs together and flex the feet. Again, still a long C curve in the spine, belly in. We're going to release both of the arms. Inhale the arms up above the head. Exhale back. Inhale up. Exhale back. Oof. Inhale up. Keep that engagement. Yes, it's hard. Again, inhale. And out. Last one. Inhale. And out. Sit it up. Release the feet down and release the upper body over the legs. Good. Sitting tall. We're going to go for just one variation of the half roll back to get some rotation happening again. So let's squeeze our legs together, sitting tall on our sit bones to start. Now we're going to go back onto the mat. We're going to tilt the pelvis, pubic bone up towards the ceiling. So find that tilt again towards your face. We roll down just about halfway, so a little further than when we were balancing before. Belly in towards the spine. Squeeze the legs together, knees and ankles connected, wide across the chest. We release the arms forward. Here, let's take a rotation in the upper body to the right and left. Exhale, exhale. So everything from the hips down doesn't move. Keep scooping low in the pelvis, just the rib cage moving. Feel that twist in the belly. If you're feeling good today, you can take it to a little balance in the legs, or I'll stay down with you guys today. Feet on the mat, squeeze the legs together. We're almost there for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back to center, reach it up and release over the legs. You can let the knees open wide and the base of the feet come together, a little butterfly position, and just release the head down towards the feet. Maybe giving a little flutter to the legs, release at the hips. And roll it back up. We're going to swing the legs around and come down onto our stomach. Forehead to the mat. And let's just bring our arms alongside the body. So legs are relaxed. Let's connect back with our breath. Belly in towards the spine. Neutral pelvis, so natural curve in the lower back. Staying here with the full body, so keep the forehead on the mat and just rotate the heels so they point towards the ceiling. So we're just finding a parallel position in the legs, belly in. We reach the fingertips towards the toes and let the arms lift away from the mat, so they're parallel to the mat. And then just release them back down. You can let the shoulders release. Again, reach the fingertips long and then lift the arms. And relax it back down. Again, lengthen and lift. Keep that long lower back and core engaged. Exhale, release. Inhale. Exhale. This time we're going to reach the fingertips long and turn the palms of the hands towards the thighs and then bring them back to the ceiling. So a little rotation in the upper arm bone. Towards the thighs and back. Towards and back. Towards and back. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release the arms back down. We're going to take it to another step. So starting again with the fingertips reaching towards the toes, lift the arms to that hover position. And now we're going to reach the crown of the head in the opposite direction of the toes. So really lengthening in the spine and lift the face away from the mat. So we want to keep the eyes and the nose looking down to keep a long back of the neck. So it's really the top of the head that's pointing towards the front wall. And everything comes back down. Let's move the head and the fingertips at the same time. So really stretch in those two opposite directions. Everything lifts and lowers. The legs are still on the mat and in that parallel position. Lengthen and lift and lower. See if you can really bring those lower ribs to come in and up. So really connected in towards the body. Back down. With the breath, inhale, lengthen and lift. Exhale, lower. On this next one, we stay up. Keep that belly in towards the spine, connected in your core. Rotate those palms of the hands towards the thighs again. And this time we're going to look towards the right side of the room, back down to the mat, and over to the left. So we're drawing this horizontal line with our eyes, keeping a long back of the neck. So every time you come back down to the mat, or you look down towards the mat, and then out towards the other side. So tracing that line on the floor. Keep the lower ribs in, belly in. One more time each side. Feel the triceps. And release it down. Turn your right ear to the mat, looking left. And just take a little breath. Bring the forehead back to the mat. This time we're going to stack the hands under the forehead. And we're going to work on our lower body. So the shoulders can release for this exercise. Belly in towards the spine. So we never want to release that stomach down towards the mat unless we're in a rest position. So activate that transverse abdominis. Bring the lower ribs in. Lengthen the right leg, point the energy out through those toes, and lengthen the leg and lift it away from the mat. The front of the hips stay connected the whole time, and the back of the knee is long. So if you find your knee bending, don't come up as high. And lengthen back down. Left leg, lengthen and lift, and lower. So the goal here is to create a little bit more space in that hip socket every time you're back down on the mat. You want to be a little bit taller, a little longer. Lengthen and lift. Lengthen and lower. So that length never stops. Inhale. Exhale. In. And out. One more time each side. And now we're going to switch the legs at the same time. So bring that right leg back up. And then as it comes down, switch to the left leg. And switch. So we're in a kind of slow swimming motion here. Keep the lower back long, the belly in and up, and the front of the hips, so that triangle on the front of the hips, the two hip bones and the pubic bone, stay connected to the mat the whole time. In fact, you can anchor it down towards the mat a little bit more. Back of the knees are long, lots of energy reaching out through the toes, pointing those toes. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release it down. Turn your left ear to the mat. Look to the right. Take a breath. So this is a moment where you can release your stomach towards the mat. Taking a nice big inhale, letting the belly expand towards the mat, opening up the space in the lower back. And release everything. Bring the forehead back to center. Hands by the sides of your ribs, and press into your hands and knees and come up to a tabletop position. So here we have the knees under the hips and the hands under the shoulders. So anchoring down into the knees and the hands, a micro bend in the elbows. So we want to avoid that kind of hyperextension in the elbows where we're crushing in our joints. Let's activate our arm muscles. Here, let's take a little cat and cow, rounding out the spine. Curl the tailbone and the top of the head under the body. Middle back rounds up. Lengthen the spine back to neutral, and then curling up towards the ceiling. Again, down and under. And lengthen and up. And bring it back to neutral. From here, we're going to flex the right foot and bring the heel, kick the heel in towards the bum and let it release. Again, kick and back. So here we're giving a little squeeze to that hamstring and release. Squeeze, release. Again, micro bend in those elbows, press into the hands, open the space between the shoulder blades. If ever this doesn't feel good for the knee, you can always just take a pause, or you can also fold your mat double or put a towel under your knees if you need that extra cushion. Press out of the shoulders, foot is flexed, really squeezing that heel in towards that right sit bone, and then letting the toes come back down. Squeeze and down. Squeeze and down. Belly is in towards the spine, neutral pelvis. This time we're going to keep the squeeze in the right leg, and we're going to slide that right knee down and away and press the base of the foot up towards the ceiling so that the knee is coming about hip height. Keep that long lower back, kick the heel in towards the bum. The knee comes back down under the hip to connect with the mat. Again, squeeze that heel in towards the bum. Lift the knee. We want to keep that knee in line with the hip. So we want to avoid coming out to the side. And back down. We'll pick up the pace a little. Inhale, press it up. Exhale, down. Keep pressing into those hands. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. In and out. You should feel this in your right hamstrings, the back of that thigh. Keep squeezing the heel in. On this next one, we're going to stay up in the right leg. Point the toes and just lengthen the lower leg. So we're coming to one long line. Feel that length in the leg, and then come back to the bent knee. And again, lengthen and squeeze. Lengthen and squeeze. For 2 and 1. And release it down. Come to sit onto the heels. We'll lengthen that right leg out in front of us. Flex the foot and just take a little release over the leg, lengthening out that hamstring. Little stretch for the back of the leg. You can always walk your hands a little bit forward if that feels good. One last inhale. And exhale. Swing that leg back around. We set it up for our second side. So back into that all fours position, hands and knees, micro bend in the elbows. pressing out of the shoulders and opening the space between the shoulder blades. Flex the left foot. Heel squeezes in towards the left sit bone and back down. Squeeze and down. So throughout this entire exercise, we want to keep the weight of the hips in center. So notice if you are swaying the hips from one side to the other, even later when we lift the leg. See if you can keep that spine in center, hips equal weight in the middle, knee right under the hip the whole time. Squeeze and lower, really warming up that hamstring, isolating that activation for the back of the leg. No sinking in the belly. Keep that belly button in and up. Zip up that tight pair of jeans. Long back of the neck, so eyes and nose pointing down towards the mat, maybe a few inches in front of the hands. This time, let's keep the heel squeezing in towards that left sit bone. We lengthen the knee, slide it back and up, so pressing the base of the foot towards the ceiling. Knee stays in line with the hip and bring it back down. So the first couple ones, you can always take a little peek. Make sure you've got that alignment, inner thighs working, and bring it back down. Again, here, watch out with that hip. You want to avoid that it's not swaying out to the right side. Keep the weight in center. Lots of things to be thinking about. Full body workout. If ever this is too much for the wrists, you can always come on to fists if that feels better. Lengthening in that left hip flexor. Neutral pelvis. All right, on this one, we're going to stay up, heel in towards the sit bone, point the toes, and lengthen the legs. So we're in that nice long position, no higher than your hips, and then squeeze it back in, bend the knee. Again, lengthen and back, belly in, lengthen and back. Two more, lengthen, keep that knee up. Last one, and release it down. Shift the hips onto the heels and lengthen out that left leg. Take a little stretch. So flex the foot. That's going to help lengthen the whole back muscle chain of the leg, which actually goes all the way up around the top of the head and connect to just above the eyebrows. So even taking a little lean forward, a little round in, that coming back to almost that C curve in the spine. Targets a nice long stretch of that muscle chain. One more breath. And let's release onto that left hip. Swing the right leg forward. Replace onto the mat with both legs nice and long. Flex the feet. We're going to go for a full roll down. So we're starting high up on our sit bones. Feel those bony parts of the bum connected down with the mat. A nice tall spine. So we really want to feel that opposition between the sit bones rooting down and the crown of the head lifting up as if there's a string being pulled up towards the ceiling. That's connecting with the rest of the spine. Arms come forward. Shoulder blades slide down the back. Inhale the arms up above the head. Exhale, scoop low in the pelvis. Arms come forward. We roll back one vertebra at a time, placing the body onto the mat and lengthen the arms up above the head. Again, we're going to come back up, start with the arms, chin towards the chest, reach it up, come up and over. And the last thing are for the sit bones to anchor down, arms come up above the head, lengthen the spine. Keep those lower ribs relaxing down and in. Again, exhale, scoop it low. One vertebra at a time, touches the mat, Lengthen the arms up above the head. We come back up. Dig it deep. And reach it tall. And release. Good. We're only going to do 2 of those today. We're going to come onto our side lying position. So you can see my full body. So lengthening the toes, lengthening the legs in line with toes in line with the hips, shoulders, and top of the head. You can come and release the head onto that lower arm. And just a light tap of the fingertips towards the mat. Find this neutral position in the side lying position. Really bad sentence. All right, so we have our belly in and up. We're expanding the back of the rib cage and the sides of the ribs with every inhale. Every exhale, see if you can find a little bit more length, crown of the head reaching in one direction, toes reaching in the other, legs are parallel. So just that demands a lot, keeping this balanced position. Hips are stacked, so both sides of our waist are nice and long. Same thing with the shoulders. They're stacked one on top of each other, so we want to avoid rolling forward, thinking as if we're squeezed between 2 walls. Good. If you're feeling stable here, you can always bring the hand up onto the hip and actually use that hand to help you lengthen that top side of the waist, really pressing those hips away from your face. Keep the shoulders stacked, shoulder blades sliding down the back. From here, we're going to lift that right leg just about hip height. Flex the foot. So we're not coming up to our max. We're just finding that hip height as if we're standing in a neutral position, belly in. Here we want to kick the leg a little bit forward and a little bit back. Now the goal here is to stay balanced on the hips. So this can be a really tiny motion. And finding just the isolated movement of the leg, the thigh bone in the hip socket. So if you have your fingertips on the mat, let's see if you can avoid putting too much pressure into that hand. It's just a light tap to help with the balance. And this time let's keep the leg in that forward kick position. And we'll find a little pulse up with the leg and back down. Up and back down. Up and down. So tapping into a little bit more of the glute. Still working the side of the hip, lengthening out that top side of the waist, so belly in and up, reach the hip far. You should feel this in the side of the hip, a little into the glute. Up and down. We're going to stay up, so in that little pulse position, bend the knee up and back. So for this one, you might want to bring your fingertips to the mat. You can allow a little bit of extra pressure into that hand. Bend and kick. Bend and kick. For 2 and 1. Point the toes. The last one, we're going to take a big circle with the leg coming up and back, down and forward. Up and back, down and forward. Inhale. Exhale. Again, see if you can keep that balance. Belly in. Reverse the direction, back and up, forward and down. So really explore that back space, explore the forward space. Find that height. Again, you're going to feel it in the side of the hip and into the glute. Belly in and up, zip up those jeans. For 2. And 1. Good. Roll onto your back. We're going to take that right leg, cross it over the left. Thread the needle, reaching through to grab onto the hamstring or the shin of that left leg. And just guiding that thigh in towards the chest. Getting a little stretch for your right glute. Here, that right leg, you really want to flex the foot to protect the right knee joint. If you want a little extra stretch, you can use that right elbow to guide the right knee away from your face as you guide the left leg in towards the chest. So it is quite some work for your arm muscles here. Relax the shoulders down. Tailbone is heavy. Big inhale. And release on the exhale. Take a little maybe windshield wiper in the legs. Releasing out the hips. And let's go over onto our second side. So you can always just roll over. We're going to be doing the same progression. Turn so you can face, so you can see me. So take this moment to really line it up, toes in line with the hips, shoulders, and top of the head. Shoulders are stacked, hips are stacked. Belly lifting in and up. Just find that balance, come back to your breath. Opening up the back and sides of the rib cage. If you're feeling good, maybe it's a little bit more stable on this side than the other side, you can bring your hand on top of the hip. We're rarely symmetrical, so it's normal to feel different from one side to the other. All right, bring that top leg about hip height, flex the foot. Again, find that length. I'm going to kick the foot a little bit forward and a little bit back. Forward and back. The lower leg stays active. That's going to help you with your balance. And see if you can really keep that pelvis in neutral even as the leg comes forward and back. So we're finding that hip crease as the leg kicks forward and then lengthening the front of the hip as the leg kicks back, activating the hamstring and under the glute. Keep pressing out through the base of the foot. Keep finding that length in the hip socket, that length for the side of the waist. Forward and back. Forward and back. This time, keep the leg forward. Take a little pulse up and down. Up and down. Still lengthening out of the leg. So just because we've moved to the pulse, we don't want to start crashing in the upper side of the waist. Keep that length, keep that support, just the leg lifting. That's where you're going to start to engage those muscles in the glutes, the side of the hip, without crashing in the side of the waist. Belly lifted, inhale, exhale, in and out. This time keep the leg high, maybe bringing the fingertips back to the mat, bending the knee up towards the face, and press it down, up and down, up and down. Shoulders are stacked nice and wide in the chest. Keep expanding the ribs on that inhale. Almost there. For 2 and 1. Bring the leg back in line with the lower leg. Point the toes, big circle here. Forward and up, back and down. Lots of length out through both toes, both feet. Forward and up. See if you can explore a little bit more of that back space. Forward and up, back and down. Forward and up, back and down. One more this direction. And switch it up, other direction. Back and up, forward and down. Back and up, forward and down. For 2. Oof. A little wobblier on this side, that's okay. And 1. Good, roll it onto your back. Let's stretch this side out. Crossing the left leg over the right knee. And hold on to that right thigh or right shin. Flex the left foot. Tailbone heavy, shoulders relaxed. Guide that right thigh in towards the chest. For that extra stretch, can you use that elbow to press the left knee away from your face? One last breath here. And release the legs, release the feet onto the mat. Again, maybe windshield wiper the knees from side to side. All right, we're going to come into one last exercise before we finish for today. Lengthen both of the legs. Fingertips behind the head, shoulder blades down, elbows wide. So we're coming back into an ab curl, chin towards the chest, curl it up. Bring the right knee into a double hip fold. You can point or flex the feet. Lengthen the leg to a high diagonal and lower it back down. Left leg. So we're going to working our way into the full position. Left leg, single hip fold. Lengthen and down. One more time each side. Bend, lengthen, and down. Left leg, bend, lengthen, and down. This time we're going to come back to the right leg, bend. Lengthen the arms up above the head. As we lengthen the right leg, we're going to sweep the arms around. It's really hard to do slow-mo, and come up in the upper body. So really coming up to that balanced position on the back of the hips. And everything comes back down. On the left side again, fingertips behind the head, bend the knee. As we lengthen the leg, arms lengthen up, circle around and back up, and everything comes down. So let's speed that up so we can actually do it. Knee comes in, lengthen around and up. Everything down. Left knee, lengthen around and up and back down. One more time each side. The goal is to keep that leg lengthened. Keep it in that position as you roll up and down. In, lengthen, around, up. Good. And bring it back down. Bring the arms up overhead, lengthen the legs. Great job today. Stretch it all out. Nice big inhale, lengthen. Exhale, release it down. Roll over onto one side, or even all the way. Let's go all the way onto the stomach. Press the hands into the mat. Knees press down, shift the hips onto the heels. Take a little shell stretch, lengthening out the back body. Feel the tailbone heavy and start to place one vertebra at a time, stacking back on top of each other. Head is heavy, shoulders released. Stacking about the mid-back, working your way up to the upper back, letting the shoulder blades feel heavy. Fingers by your sides. The last thing is for the head to come back to neutral. Just close your eyes here. Let the arms relax. The tailbone and sit bones point down. Crown of the head nice and light, floating up. Nice big inhale. And exhale. And you are done for today. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you have a wonderful day or evening. And please feel free to comment, to send your feedback, to follow me on Instagram. And I hope to see you soon. Thank you.